Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Welcome, everybody. Here's another fantastic show that's coming up. But before I do that, this episode comes to you from Izzy's Legacy Inc. And I always like to share with everybody how easy it is to join the registry, how easy it is to donate. So listen in.
So we have a ton of events in the works. Obviously, our biggest one is going to be our gala, where we're going to be able to raise funds for those patients who are going through a cancer journey. But in addition to that, we'll be able to host educational events about the registry and donor drives. Also fun events as well, and events for emotional support for families and patients who are going through the journey that our family once went through. As far as the donation process goes, it is so simple and easy, and a lot of people are unaware about that. 90% of the time, it's very comparable to donating platelets or plasma in a blood center. So the first thing you can do is text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474. You will receive a text link where you will be able to click register now, fill out the registration, and have a swab kit sent to your home. We also have tons of opportunities to do marrow donor registry drives where we can actually swab on site and sign individuals up in person. So there are many avenues for that, but once you're on the registry, it takes a couple of weeks for your swab kit to process, and then you will be in the daily searches for those who are searching for a match. If you end up being a match, you'll get a call and they'll ask if you would like to go forward with the donation process. 90% of the time, what they will ask for is a peripheral blood stem cell donation, shortly known as PBSC. And 10% of the time, what they will ask for is a direct marrow donation, which is from the back of the pelvic bone. So there are two different forms of donation, but more commonly it is going to be the PBSC.
And thank you to Gabrielle Morales, our secretary, for that valuable information. Let's get to today's guest. Her name is Desha Henfield. What impressed me about Desha is the following. She is a military veteran, a poet, a two-time international best-selling co-author, a speaker, and a mental health advocate. As all my viewers know, I suffer from PTSD myself. I know that journey all too well, and this really spoke to me when I heard about all the things that she does. She is a purpose-driven encourager who inspires and empowers people to find their voice and believe in possibilities. Desha believes that you are your testimony and uses life experiences to speak to areas in others which remain unhealed from traumas of the past. Very impactful. As a speaker, Desha uses positive self-talk, affirmations, and the power of I am statements to propel her audience to press into purpose and become their best selves. She firmly believes words possess power and that we speak our situation into existence. Desha is currently working on her next project, and I want to hear all about it. Let's welcome Desha to the show. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Listen, what an impressive resume. You have so many things. I already am thinking of the questions that I want to ask. But first, share with my viewers, what is your next project?
Right now, I am working on a book. It's an affirmation book. However, it's not just affirmations. It's affirmations. There will be a prayer in there that I'm going to write the prayer that you would pray. And then also there will be some reflection questions that will help you to reflect on what the affirmation was.
Nice. Now, share with me, is this something that helped you? How did you discover this method?
Well, I really believe in affirmations and manifesting your destiny. So speaking into your own life. And so I used affirmations over my lifetime kind of to help me get to the other side of depression, of sadness, of darkness. So that's what affirmations have done for me. And as I saw what they did for me, I believe they could do it for others. And so that's how I came up with the idea to do the book. And then a prayer was, as I'm in my daily prayers, I was like, some people don't know what to pray. Some people wonder how to pray. And maybe if I put some prayers in here, it'll help them to begin, getting better with their prayer life. Just starting with the prayers that I'm adding to the book.
Right. No, I think that's so impactful because a lot of people, they say, I don't know how to pray. or they were, I'm a cradle Catholic. Our prayers came from prayers that were handed to us. Yet that doesn't feel like a connection to God, right? So how do I pray so that I feel like I'm actually having a conversation? So
Yes.
that's like a guidebook then for people
Yes.
who don't know, right?
Yes. And prayer is just that. It's a conversation between you and God, and it's personal. Prayers do not have to be how, quote, religiosity has it, where there's a certain type of way you have to pray and certain prayer you have to pray. You pray whatever is on your heart, and you have that conversation with God.
Right. It is a conversation. It truly is. Words are just words, right? It's
Yes.
the meaning behind it. And you could have a scripted prayer. It's
Yes.
what's behind that script. Do
Yes.
you feel that script? It's like a
Yes.
song or a poem, right? When you
Exactly.
read that poem, you got to feel it. You have to feel it.
Yes.
So share with our viewers, what challenge have you had in your past that has led you to want to help others now?
I've had many challenges. I come from I say we put the D in dysfunction. So many and I'm not saying my life was all bad, because it wasn't. I had a basically a pretty good life, but in that good times there were also bad times and some traumatic times. And so one of the biggest things when I was in the military, I am an MST survivor, and so that's military sexual trauma. So that has propelled me to kind of want to help those who may have fallen victim to some type of physical, sexual assault, domestic violence type of situation. But
Right.
also in that, mentally we don't think about it, but growing up as children, even though, people might have got spankings as kids and stuff like that, nowadays, they call that, that's the traumatic thing and things of that nature. And so I always wanted to do things differently than what I've known. So
Mm,
whereas I may have gotten some name calling when I was a kid, I've never done that with my children. I did the complete opposite. See, when you come from trauma, either you're going to walk in that trauma and become what you saw, or you're going to become the opposite of that. And
right, right.
yeah, so that was like the catalyst for me to begin to want to help others, pour into others, was the basic things that I went through in my life, and I didn't want to see that for anyone else.
You know, and I've talked to a lot of people who have experienced similar backgrounds, right? Who have had what is considered trauma, right? The way that you were spoken to, the way that you were treated. I always say sometimes a parent didn't know what they didn't know, just as you
Exactly.
say, right? So they just followed how they were taught because they didn't see anything different. It's
Hmm.
up to us to make that change, right? But
Yes,
we
exactly.
have to have a level of forgiveness for those that did something to us unknowingly. What do you feel about that?
I'm very big on forgiveness. one of the
Mm.
one of the books that I was a co-author in, one of the chapters I wrote about forgiveness. So because forgiveness is really not for the other person. It is for you. It's a way for
Right.
you to heal. And and sometimes person might not even know you ever forgave them, because y'all never had that conversation, never had an opportunity to have that conversation. But in that, you do need to do the forgiveness so that you can grow, and also when maybe you can have the conversation, when you have an opportunity to have the conversation with that person, and they find out, okay, I'm not holding no grudges against you. I forgive you for what happened in our past. And
Right.
honestly, you don't even have to go all deep into it, have a deep conversation and rehash it. I forgive you, and we're going to move forward from here.
Hmm.
Let's see where we can go from here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
think that's extremely deep because
yeah.
people feel like in order to forgive, a conversation has to happen. I
Mhm.
can't truly forgive until that person knows how much they hurt me, right? But to your point, forgiveness is for you. So, what are the first steps that you can guide somebody who is in that state, who's hearing you right now, right? Doesn't have the opportunity. Maybe that person that they're upset at has passed on,
Mhm.
right? So they're
Yes,
not physically here to be able to forgive them. What kind of advice would you give them to do those steps?
I would have them do an evaluation of themselves, and have a conversation with themselves. The one, see where's the feelings coming from? Where's the
Hmm.
emotions coming from? What did that person do to you? Then how did it make you feel? And what can you do so that you don't feel that way anymore? And sometimes, let's speak on, you're saying the person may be gone already. You may not be able to have a conversation with that person. Even if they were alive, they might not have never been open to a conversation. However they're going. So what you can do, you can write a letter to that person. They might not never see it, but it allows you to get the feelings and the emotions out of you. And once you get it out, leave it out. Lay it down. Don't pick it up no more. Maybe you can write it down on a piece of paper and then burn that paper.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I am releasing it to the atmosphere.
There you go.
You know, and so that's what you can do. You can write it down. You can speak it out loud. You can pray on it. You can even if someone's going, you can still speak to them. You can speak it out loud. But the biggest thing is once you do that, to leave it there. Don't rehash it. And when you begin to get the thoughts, change your thoughts. You can, when you start to think about, oh, they did such and such to me, say, they may have done that to me, but I forgive them, and I'm not going to sit in that. You have to grow conscious of your feelings and your emotions. And then when you begin to get them, quote, triggers, know how to combat them by changing your mind.
Absolutely. I heard someone speak recently, and they talked about forgiveness, because I love this subject about forgiveness. And they said the reason to forgive is to let go of that power that person has over you and the relationships that surround you.
Yes.
Right? Because it's going to spill over into a relationship that you have. Let's say it was a romantic relationship that you have this anger towards. It's going to now spill over into the next relationship that you try to have because of the trauma of this other one.
Yes.
And if you truly forgive and let it go, it releases the power that this person has over you.
Exactly. Because otherwise you're carrying baggage. How much baggage do we carry around every day? You're carrying baggage into another relationship and therefore causing a burden, a heaviness on that relationship that does not need to be there.
Right. And you spoke on it in regards to being a parent too, right? So
Yes.
you had to forgive the way that you were maybe parented or adults, did. And you made sure that you made it a conscious effort to not do that when you were parenting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Delve a little bit more into that. How difficult was that? What was that process like to identify and know I want to do this different?
Well, I in the beginning, I didn't know I wanted to do it different. I just began to do it different. I didn't know, I just know that I didn't want to spank my kids. That was just something I was determined not to do. I know how that made me feel. So I just, when my children were bad, it was go to timeout or go sit down or do that. So it was not go get me that belt or that switch, So I just began to automatically begin to have different behaviors. In regards to like my mom, like my mother, I've forgiven my mom for things of the past. My mother to this day still say some things that's way off the wall.
Write them down. What not to say.
but you know what I'll say is it doesn't affect me the way it used to. And although this is not your question, I want to just get a little bit into this. So my mother, I believe that she has not dealt with traumas of her past, and therefore she does not know how to deal with just regular relationships in a certain type of way because nobody acknowledged her pain, and so therefore it was never dealt with, right? So I've been the recipient of that pain because of the words that she has used, the things that she has said to me. And honestly, it has taken me all way up into adulthood. I'm 53 at this point. It's taken me well up into adulthood to not allow her words to have power. I can remember being in my 20s and she called me on the phone. I was in the military. She called me on the phone about my sister. And my sister was pregnant. It was young. She was young. I have nothing to do with that.
Right.
However, she called me on the phone in the middle of the night. And I sat on the phone as she cursed me out and called me all kinds of vile names. And I didn't say anything back to her. At the time, my ex-husband, who was my boyfriend, he took the phone out of my hand and hung it up. I was just still listening to whatever she was saying to me. That was my mother. I didn't hang up on her. I sat there and took it, even though I did not deserve that. And so it took me again, well until my 30s, until something changed. And I'll tell you what changed in me. my daughter, my son is 34. My daughter now is about to be 25 this month. So my daughter, she used to be with me and my mom. Sometimes I would go pick my mom up, do things for my mom. And so we were in the car one day, and my mother, out of the blue, began to curse me. And I even and I'm in my 30s now, I didn't say anything.
In your 30s.
I'm just taking it. And so after my mother got out of the car, and my daughter turns to me, she's a little kid, and she says, "Mom, are you okay?" She's like, "I feel so bad for you." And that was the catalyst for change in that relationship with me and my mother. Something flipped in me, because now my daughter is affected, and she sees what's happening to me, and she's not seeing, she's seeing me as her mom, and she's seeing that I'm hurt. And so I had to change how I dealt with my mother. I still love my mother, and I'll still do for my mother, but I had to really make a strict boundary there.
Right.
And how you can talk to me, or if you're going to talk to me, then you can't be around. I can't come over. I can't do XXX, or, I had to draw a line, because I didn't no longer wanted to now begin to affect my daughter,
Right.
So, so yeah, so I'm sorry. I know I went on a whole nother thing, but
no, I think it was necessary. I think this is a necessary left turn, as I call them, right? We take a left turn. That's because somebody out there needs to hear this. Somebody is going through this. Okay. So we talk about generational trauma. That's exactly what you just described. It's generational trauma.
Yes.
Excellent book. Oh God, I will think of it. There's a book about generational traumas that talk about our people, right? We talk about people of color and the way that we were treated and our ancestors were treated, and that became normal for them.
Yes.
Right. So that's exactly how they don't know any better. They start raising their own that way, and providing limits and being angry and all this stuff. And it just continues until something happens, like you.
Yes.
Traumatic slave disorder. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So that is, I read that book, and I was like, wow, Dr. Joy DeGruy is the person who wrote it. And she talks about this with police departments and things like that, trying to educate people on, why we behave differently. Why is it different for us than other cultures, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to go back to that, because that's all they knew. This is just, it's passed on and passed on and passed on. And that's why we keep our kids close, and we don't let them explore. And, is the fear of going out there and doing things, because we don't know what's going to happen to you. Right. So we live with that, and we parent that way, unfortunately. And we have to break those chains. You have to break that generational curse.
Yes.
And you did that not knowing, but something in that little girl triggered something inside of you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So tell me, how did you respond to your daughter when she said
that? I told her, I said, well, my mom, she has some things going on. That's what I said to her. Okay. And so she just doesn't know how to speak to me properly. And that's not right. I did say, that's not right. But it wasn't so much what I said to my daughter, I think, is that I had to show her that I have now drawn lines. I had to change my behaviors, so she could see that that's not right, and that's not the way that someone that loves you should treat you, and you don't have to accept that. And so that's what I did. I changed the way that I was dealing with my mother. My daughter, like I said, my daughter's about to be 25, and even to this day, sometimes she'd be like, well, Mom, her relationship with my mother is not a tight one at all. Because of how my mother treated me. And she's so protective of me and the things that she has seen, that it's not, but I am one, I believe in showing love. You have to show love with limits, though, depending on the situation. As a child of God, I'm supposed to love. And so, and respect my mother, because that's my mother. But you also have to learn how to draw boundaries and things of that nature when it comes to situations such as mine, which is not the most positive situation. But I think that I've shown my daughter at this point, I think that I've shown her that you can draw boundaries and you can still love someone. Sometimes you just have to love them from a distance.
That's right. Amen. Amen, sister. And I think that's important to show, especially our daughters, right? Because you want to make sure that they don't accept certain behaviors towards them, whether it's at home, with a future partner, at work. You have all
Yeah.
these different situations where these things are a possibility. Someone that's in power, right? That's over you.
Yeah.
Your boss could think that it's okay. But it's up to you to say, it's not okay. And I'm
Exactly.
not going to accept this. And I'm going to set boundaries so that you understand I have to respect me. If I respect me, I'm not going to allow you to disrespect me.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
important tools that you just changed for your future generations.
Yes.
Oh, good job. Good job. I absolutely love that. Now, tell me about your son. You said you have a son as well.
Yes. My son's 34.
He's 34 years old. He's a grown man.
Yeah, he has his own family. And
Okay.
yeah, my son is just different. He's always been like an outgoing person, and people kind of draw to him, and him and his wife, they're like best friends. I have
That's
two wonderful
awesome.
grandchildren. I will say I am very grateful to God for what he has done in my son's life. I feel that some of what he did not get here because I was a single parent, raised both of my children, and so there was not that quote father figure in his life, but he has had always good mentors around him.
Mhm.
And with his wife, he also has gained a father-in-law who is also a man that can pour into his life. My son
That's
has a
fantastic.
great circle of friends. I mean, they say men don't say. He has a great, strong circle of friends, male friends, and him and his wife have a good core group of people as well. So I've been blessed in that area. I'm grateful that God has saw fit to give my son the relationships and the family he has, and I'm praying the same when my daughter gets somebody.
That's all
once
we
she
can do
gets
is
to that,
pray.
once she gets to that point, But I try to be the as the head of the family, um, a guide, a mentor, a teacher, you know, to my children and those I connect with, because it's just really important that people get to see that there is love out there, because a lot of people don't get love at home.
That's
And
right.
so it's very important for us to show love, not only to our children and our family, but to others.
Others. We have to be a model of that. We have to
Yes,
be a model of compassion, of love, and resilience, which is
yes.
means that that's exactly what you've done. And the reason I ask about your son is because I interviewed a Mr. Chip Baker. I don't know if you've heard of him,
Mm-mm.
on my show. And he talked about coming from, it was him and his sister, and being raised by a single mom. And he credits his mother for teaching him the tools and the values so that he would now, when he treated women, right? So pouring into your son is equally as important as your daughter, because
Yes,
he will have families, daughters of his own, a wife of his own. Those relationships is equally as important with you as a mom. So single moms out there, I'm talking to you, okay? It's
yes,
if you want to see change, if you don't like what's happened in your life and you want to see true change, change your sons, change his families, change your daughters, change his families. And he
yes,
credits his mother for all of that.
yes.
So I'm sure that your son would say similar about you.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, I'm telling you, one of the greatest compliments that to me is when people speak on how well my son treats people, or how kind my son is, or how loving my son is. And if nothing else, when one of my children called me about prayer, because I didn't grow up in the church. Now I'm in the
Mm,
church now, and I love God. You know what I mean. I go to the church is the building, because the church is in me. Okay,
that's right.
but
That's right.
but if you want, when somebody need a prayer or want to get a prayer through, when my children or somebody reaches out and say, well, so and so said call you, that's like the biggest compliment to me, because I know that I have been an example to my children of
That's
what it
right.
means to know God and what it looks like to serve him, And so that's like the greatest thing for me, when like my son one time was on vacation, and him, my niece, and they called me and was like, Mom, can you pray? Can you say a prayer
Wow.
about XXX? And I said, I sure can. Let me go ahead and get that done for you. Like on the phone, I prayed with them. And my daughter has done it when she went away to college one time, and she reached out about prayer. So that is like the greatest thing to me, and the greatest thing ever is the fact that I have gained a relationship with God in such a way that others see it.
Amen. You just touched me because I never saw it that way. My children will reach out to me and say, Mom, can you please pray for me? Something's about to happen, or I'm stressing about this. Can you pray? Can you light some candles? Can you do these things for me? And I never saw it that way. They feel comfortable enough that they have faith in
Mhm.
my prayer. They see that I have a connection with God, and they feel that I can do that for them, just like you. So thank you for that. Thank you
Yes,
for that.
you're
That was
welcome.
fantastic. And before we move on, right? I want to touch on your military experience, if you're okay with that,
Mhm.
and a little bit about what you went through and how you recovered from that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I don't really talk deeply about it because that's
Yeah.
a dark place for me. But I will say that I had a couple of experiences during my time in the military where people took advantage of me in certain situations, which pushed me into a very dark place. I honestly, I pushed it so far back in my subconscious, and it didn't come back up until my daughter went to college and I was alone. I
Wow.
my When I was in therapy, my therapist said, "You are a master of avoidance." So I practiced avoidance in my whole entire life. I focused and now I can see I focused on everybody else so that I didn't have to deal with what happened to me.
Oh my God. So you didn't deal with that until many, many years later.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and
Okay.
I didn't deal with it. It was always there because I was very protective of my children. I didn't realize of why I was the way I was. It took therapy to get me to see this is why I do some of the things I do. I
Right.
was very protective of my children. My daughter can probably count on one hand how many times she got to spend the night over somebody else's house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it affected various areas of my life. But
Yeah.
I will say this: I have forgiven those who have hurt me. I will never speak to them again. Prayerfully, I will never come across their path because I still have triggers. I could be in certain places and be triggered by something. But I forgive them and I had to forgive them because if I didn't, I wouldn't even be who you see right now in front
Right.
of you.
Yeah.
know,
Forgiveness. That's so
yeah,
important. That is so
yeah.
important.
It took a lot out, and I'll say this is how I got to here. It took a lot of prayer and it took a lot of therapy. See, Eric, some people be like, oh, you say you're a Christian, you got to trust God and you just pray about it. Well, no, God has given wisdom to therapists. He has sent people to school to become therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, and they are there to help you to pull through, to give you some tools that you can use to work through situations. And then he's also there, and the Holy Spirit is there to guide you as only he can when you are connected to him in that way. You know what I
That's
mean? You
right.
have to have that connection. I'm telling you, man, it's a whole nother conversation. If we
Yeah.
ever have one of the a God conversation,
Yeah,
listen,
listen,
you
we
know,
need to have a God conversation because, God lives within the physicians. God lives within those people, and he
Mhm.
sends them to help you because we are not on this earth to be by ourselves and do everything alone. We're in
Yes,
community. God gives us a community for a reason. And one of the
yes,
biggest lessons we got to learn in life is to work within those communities, to be a part of a community.
exactly.
Okay. And stop thinking that you're God and that you can handle everything, right?
Yes,
We
yes,
need each other. And the
yes,
sooner that we realize that and accept help, then the faster we can recover and heal our wounds and help others. Once we're
yes,
healed, it is now our obligation, right? Because I've healed or I'm still healing. I feel that
yes,
healing is continuous, right? Just
yes.
like you
It's a
mentioned,
continuous journey.
triggers. Triggers will
Mhm.
always come. It's knowing what to do when those triggers come that are
Yes,
going to get you to continue to move forward and not make you paralyzed where you are.
yes.
It's
To
never going to go
effectively
away.
manage them. Yes.
Effectively manage, exactly. So there's
Mhm.
so much more here, right, to unpack when it comes to this. But this is fantastic. Now, given everything you've shared, you talked about affirmations and how that's big for
Yes.
you. When did
Yes.
you start learning affirmations? When did that first come into your life?
Um, I think I've kind of always had affirmations. I just didn't use them, because I've had a lot of negative self-talk in my life, a lot of negative self-talk. I think over the last maybe 15 years or so, I began to actively use them. And over the last few years, they've fully become activated in my life because I had to begin to retrain my mind. It's a mindset thing. I had
Right.
to retrain my mind because I did, like I said, I had so much negative self-talk. And then you have these moments where you're great and you're wonderful and everything's all good. And then you have these little dull moments where you get back into the valley. And
Right.
so and there were times, and one of the things I say when I speak to people about affirmations, if you're not at the point in your life where you can say, I am wonderful, I am successful, I am worthy, I am this, I am that, speak to what you are not. You know,
Hmm.
I am not the last. Like, because people say, oh yeah, I'm always last.
Yes.
Oh, nobody thinking about me, you know. And if you can't say I am first, I am the head and not the tail, you can
Mhm.
say I am not the tail. So
Mhm.
you're still not saying that you are that thing. You know what I mean? Until you can then speak truth to power, because I am statement is powerful. I
Right.
am statement is strength.
Right.
You know, and so that's what I look at these affirmations as. They are strength. And so over the last few years, I've really begun to delve more into them, looking more into how they can propel you to your next level and help you to change your mindset from a negative to a positive. And so that's how I got more deeper into it. So I've always in real life kind of had the affirmations, but I just was not using them as a tool and not using them effectively, which is what I do now.
Right. And that's fantastic. I've never heard of that. So that's baby steps. So people have trouble with that. And instead
Yes.
of continuing to try, they just leave it alone because I can't do it. Right. You just
Mm-hmm.
taught them another way. Okay, you
Yes.
can't do this. Well, let's try this, which is easier.
Yes.
Right. And then you can
Yes.
move towards this. Once you got this down pat, then you can take the next step and move this way.
Yes.
Fantastic. So what kind of people that do you work with? Who's your ideal client that would work with you?
My ideal client will be someone who often feels like they're forgotten, because I've struggled with that. See,
Okay.
when you had to get yourself through something, you can know how to get somebody else through it. You know, someone who's looking to move themselves to another level mentally. And so, because the thing is, when you change your mind, I know a lot of people say this, when you change your mind, you change your life. And so my ideal person or client person to work with me is someone who is looking to change their mindset. They know that they are in a lull somewhere.
Hmm.
And so they're trying to change that and they don't know how to change it themselves. Then I can be that accountability person, that coach, that mentor that can help you by giving you little tools here and there, that little activities that they'll have to do and things of that nature to begin to grow and to begin to come
Fantastic.
out of their shell. Because and they probably and they're not all of a sudden one day they're gonna realize, oh, wait a minute. I didn't think like that. I said this instead of that. You know what I mean? The process
Yeah.
is fast or as slow as you allow it to go. But that's what the type of client is, somebody who is looking and really knows that they want to begin to change. Because it took me a long time to get to the point where I know at this point I'm ready for change.
Right.
Like being part of the groups that we're part of, I
Right.
know right now I'm ready for change, and that's why I'm in those groups, because it's
Right.
time to change. You
Yeah. It's
know,
not just acknowledging that you need change, it's get ready to do the work
yes,
because it's
yes,
not easy. Right. And a lot of
yes.
people will ask, why me? Why did this happen to me? The why me question. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say, why not me? People think that because you're a woman of faith, I'm a woman of faith, that we're supposed to, because we're so close to God, why do bad things keep happening to you then? Because nowhere in the Bible does it say that bad things won't happen. It just
Mm-hmm.
says that when they do, we have a God who will be there for us.
Yes,
We have community that will be there for us. That's what the Bible is showing us and teaching us.
yes,
To reach out to your communities, just like the communities and groups that we belong to, that they're going
yes,
to help us on our journey to get to the next level. So if you're
yes.
ready for that, if you're ready for real change, reach out to Deja. Her information is scrolling right there on the bottom. Her website is her name. You made it so easy.
Yes.
Right? Reach
Yes.
out. She's ready to help you. You're ready, she's ready. Get together and get on that positive trajectory and start making some real change in your life.
Yes.
Now,
Let's get into a consistent mindset and a consistent movement so that we can get to the next level.
that's right. Let's go. As we say, right? Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
So Desha, tell my viewers, how do you define success?
I define success as making a difference in the lives of the people that you meet. If it's just one person and you can help them see life a little better, see things a little differently, if you can put somebody on the right path, then you're a success. It's not a finance, it's not about making $1 billion. It's about healing a heart. It's about helping a family reconnect. It's about letting someone see the Christ in you.
That's right.
That is success to me. There's so many ways to define success, but success to me is helping your fellow man, helping that person next to you. That's why I'm successful every day,
Amen.
because when God wakes me up in the morning and my feet hit the ground and the devil say, "Oh my goodness, she woke." It starts to
Uh-oh.
tremble.
Let me
Then
hurt
I'm
your feet so
successful.
she can't step.
That's success. Success, honestly, is really having a heart for people and being able to effectively help a person, if only one. But the thing is, when you help one person, you've helped a million, because that person is going to help somebody else. It's going to get paid forward. Positivity always progresses.
That's right. That's right. And when you make changes, and when you make changes within your first family and your own little circle, you are sending a pebble out and causing a ripple effect, and you are changing generations to come. You are
Yes.
that powerful.
Yes,
Yes, you
ma'am.
can. Yes,
Yes,
you
you
can.
are.
All right, for my viewers, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I am definitely having Desha back because we got more conversation that we need to have, and I will see you next time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Morales, and I am a recruitment coordinator for Be The Match. My journey with Be The Match actually began when I was only 9 years old. At that point, my 7-month-old baby sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of leukemia. Through the Be The Match registry, we were able to find a matching donor for my sister. And although a few months later we lost her, her cancer was cured. Our family is so thankful for the additional months that we had with my sister. And ever since then, I've made a promise to myself to dedicate my life to helping children just like Isabella and helping families like ours by continuing her legacy. Hence why I now work for Be The Match. I love what I do so much, and I'm able to spread awareness about the huge need for more donors on the registry, especially those of diverse backgrounds. There is currently a huge disparity within the registry for minority patients, and we need your help. It is so simple to save a life and to be put on the registry. You can visit izzy'slegacy.com or text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474 to start the registration process to be on the Be The Match registry, to hopefully be a life-saving match for a searching patient in need.